fourth episode for season 1, 2017 to 2018. Today's topic will be the prestige leadership, finding the root cause to problems. What is prestige leadership? Let's get started. Welcome everyone. Today's topic for episode 4 from season 1, 2017 to 2018 of my podcast show, Surviving Your Journey Towards Success. Today's show topic is how prestige leadership. What is that? How can we identify it? Why is it important? So let's go ahead and dive right in. Thank you again so much for joining me again for another episode of my show. Before I do that, I want just to say in this day, I am thankful to the prime creator of all things, that I give thanks for this blessing and opportunity, that I will use it for the greater good. So welcome my survivors of the journey to this podcast that aims to inspire and motivate you to continue to have joy and peace of mind and to sustain your success. Okay, so let's get right to it. So I love to talk about leadership because leadership is important. Leadership shows that you're at a level in your life that you not only can contribute, you can inspire and you can influence other people. That's really what prestige leadership, not just leadership. Anyone say, well, I led this and I was the leader of this and I was a team lead. But the real question is, can someone say that you perform prestige leadership? Prestige is something that is the best of the game pretty much. And you show that you have diversified skills. So this show topic focuses on that. And when you're being led by a leader, does that person show prestige leadership? Because if they don't, that goes into my next subtopic, which is dealing with bad leadership. Okay, how can you, of course, not only identify it, but how you can manage that? Either you're being led by bad leadership, or you're probably not even aware that you're conducting leadership that not consider as prestige. And when I'm also talking about those individuals that know that prestige leadership, you demonstrate how you can find the root cause to problem, then apply a solution. Bad leadership, those solutions doesn't provide really long-term solutions to solve problems. And you have to know the difference, okay? So let's go ahead and get started with one of my favorite discussions about being a very good, sufficient, great. You can put all the good adjectives there, but when you pull it all together, we're talking about prestige, okay? The high quality of leadership. We all have the opportunity to experience that in our work life. Or maybe not even in our work life. Maybe it's in some type of group or some type of organization that you were a part of and someone was in a leadership role and they showed consistency. They showed good communication. Why is that important? That leads to your mental health, okay? To your mental peace. Mental peace is very important because without that, you have no joy. You have no joy. Your journey of life will not be a happy one. And then you start falling into that negative valley of self-doubt, not believing that you can do it. Touching on my previous episode, not believing that you got it in you to get it done, but you actually do. So let's talk about prestige leadership, how you can identify those when you notice that particular leader finds the root cause to problems and then apply the right solution. Point number 1. For example, in the corporate world, the ones that has prestige leadership always produces the following. A solidified mechanism of teams, meaning that they know the right employees to work together to get the job done. Second point, B, prestige leadership demonstrates analytical and research aptitude approaches to discovering the root cause for immediate resolution because wasted time is not an option. C, loyalty to the leader exists. I have to share this moment. I worked for a Fortune 500 company years ago. At that particular time, I had not written the corporate America book, Surviving Your Journey to Success, right? Basically, as I look back in those years at that company, it was really giving me the experience and the knowledge and the firsthand research into what prestige leadership, what a company that everybody's working in the alignment to the primary objective of their product and service, but at the same time not taking away the mental peace and the joy of the employees, because they love what they do, happy at work. It's a very positive environment. Don't get me wrong, negative things will happen, but going back to my main takeaway so far at this point is that prestige leadership identify those areas, those root problems, and they eliminate them so it doesn't create a bigger hole. So at this particular company, it was a VP actually had an office on the same level as regular employees, and he would have like weekly meetings. He didn't have to. He had like several department managers and supervisors and team leads, but he made a point that every week, at least one time a week, he would have this bunch of employees on this one level open floor area, and he would just have a meeting, and he was so engaging and very friendly. Everybody was just like in awe at every word that this man said. I remember even before these weekly meetings that he would have, and you would hear other employees just talk such high regard, and then you would hear about an incident or something that we couldn't produce the productivity, and then you would hear how he resolved it very quickly, working with the manager that was over that department or the team lead, and it was just a more team effort. So it seems that he gave back for the people that he gave authority to, but he also was a follow-up type person to make sure that the job got done. And so I seen the loyalty in the employees, that if he wanted a team to come in on the weekend, even if it was paid overtime and maybe it was close to a holiday, I would actually see people willing to change their schedule around for the weekend just to come out and help the numbers. That's loyalty. That's the team that you want to be a part of or to lead. And to do that, I always say, is always at the top. I always says that because that's the truth. So he gave me the first impression that you can be successful. Eventually, he was so successful, they moved him up to even more bigger senior VP position. But nonetheless, he gave me the first approach to what leadership represents and how you can communicate and engage with your subordinates in a way that they will be on the battlefield for you. And that's what you want, because employees want to see that you can actually solve problems. And even if you can't solve a problem right there, you are communicating to us, you're on top of it, and you follow up. That's one thing I learned from him, from that senior VP. He always followed up. I mean, I would see him just walking in and out different team areas, or I would hear him giving suggestions to the manager about it. He was just actively involved instead of stuck in the office looking at numbers. Now, I'm not saying on every job that you can actually do that, or even from the employee level that you would need, that engagement to feel. But at the end of the day, everyone wants to feel value, and everyone wants to look up to somebody, especially a leader in position with the authority to do something. Okay, how many times you sit back and like, well, that person's not doing anything. Why is this problem just keep, evolving? And what I do not understand, how the problem has been identified, but this has been going on for years, and nobody is taking a proactive approach to nip it in the bud. When you are under prestige leadership, or you are prestige leadership, you identify the problem and you take care of business and you get it done, right? All right, so that's one of the things that will identify you in the corporate world, or even in some type of organization or group. The prestige leadership that always will show that type of response, loyalty by their followers, by the employees, by the team members. Okay, the other thing is profitability levels, of course, is where they need to be, meaning that they're constantly meeting that target, or at least coming close to that target, more so than less. And then employees also have a feeling of value. I mentioned that earlier, and in my other episode talked about that, about defining your worth, and which is so important when you do that. And it balances out the authority of a leader to the person that's a team member of that team, meaning that there's no disrespect. And a prestige leadership knows the words, what to say to motivate you and encourage you that you can do it and that we are a team. And you respect the leader in that respect, that you're not, shall I say, you're not disrespectful, okay? You're not second guessing the final call. Once the leader makes the final call, it's a done deal. There's no sense of going back and forth because you trust the leader to display the ability to lead. And that's what prestige leadership represents, because most of the time, if not all the time, they're right on the money. All right, let's take a quick music break. We will be right back. Let's return back to the podcast of surviving your journey. So their communication model is superb, that you understand the primary objective and they can execute it in a way that you definitely feel secured and impressed and influenced, and that creates a less stressed employee. So the bottom line with prestige leadership quickly identifies the areas that needs to be fixed. And to me personally, I will work for anybody in the sense, as long as I see that their decision making is on par, that they've done the necessary research, and that they are able to quickly identify the areas that needs to be fixed and they fix it, because things gonna happen. But I really want to see how you are going to approach this. Are you working on? Are you getting it done? And when they show me that, I am just so impressed. And I'm like on the team, like anybody else. I'm ready to do what I need to do to be a part of something that wants to get something accomplished, okay? So prestige leadership quickly identifies the areas that needs to be fixed. If employees are not getting along or working at a capacity to meet the metrics, or even if some type of organization and everybody got a task and one or two people is that's not performing or getting the job done, and the project need to be done by Saturday or what have you, and then you as a leader of that team needs to identify that and nip it in the bud. Now I'm going to share something else. So I can write nonfiction and fiction and so forth. And I love to write essays. But this is something I'm talking about when I had to do a production for stage. And problems always seem to come up, even in filming, because I did independent filming and I will continue to do filming in the future. You know, things come up, and with filming is different than stage. Filming, you have time to reschedule and do the stage is different. Once you set the date, you really have to continue to meet that date of showtime, right? But anyhow, things come up in any medium of expression. So my point that I'm trying to relay to you is that when issues came up, I just immediately pulled out my second plan of action and I execute that. When that didn't work, then I did something else. So I kept mixing it up as things just pop up to hurry up and fix the problem, because at any medium, there's always going to be some type of time frame you have to get it done, and you don't have time to kind of second guess too much. You have to execute it usually when you realize that there's a problem that needs to be addressed. And sometimes I made some big decisions and shook things up. You'll have people like, oh my gosh, why? But at the bigger picture, when it was all said and done, what needs to be done, I got it done. So the bottom line with that is that with leadership, top of things. All right, the second point is to be a perceived leader is to lead with the foresight that although issues arises, without a strong, motivated, and loyal team that you have, the journey will be rough. Because most of the time we need help from the people that's part of the team, and that could either be in the corporate world, or that could be again in any type of organization or group. Prestige leadership demonstrate and must demonstrate, let me emphasize that, strong interpersonal skills. That's in my book, in Corporate America, Surviving Your Journey Toward Success. Without strong interpersonal skills, how in the world will you effectively communicate the goals and to motivate the team? You have to be able to know what makes people tick, how encouraging them actually is feeding into that project that you want to happen, or that goal, or whatever that you're aiming for success. That your strong and personal skills is thinking about that other person and their needs, and making sure that they feel empowered and they feel positive towards the project or the goal that you set forth. So the previous mentioned positive attitude is stellar in the sense of demonstrating strong interpersonal skills. That is the heart of any team, and that is one of the number one, the top skill set that I tell people that is looking to improve their leadership skills, is that your interpersonal skills has to be on par. If it's not, and you're rough on the edges, or you don't even think that that's even necessary, just throw out the commands and I have the authority and let it run. No, you have to invest in people. You have to invest in the team. You have to know what makes them feel comfortable and motivated, and provide that. I'm not saying do everything in the world, but take the moment to see what makes people feel motivated and influenced and happy and joy. And I noticed that most the ones is not all about the self, but the little things matter more than the small things. All right. Okay, let's go ahead now and focus on bad leadership, and how bad leadership basically does the complete opposite, as you can probably figure that out. You probably like me and have experienced more bad leadership than good leadership. Okay, I know it's rough. I mean, I wish I had more prestige leadership experiences than the bad, but now I look back and I realize that happened for a reason to bring me to this point, because that also taught me a lot, that what not to do and how to advise people when I consult people on their tactics, and what they feel that is not the best that they could do, because they're not seeing the results. And most of the time, once I identify that, I realize that you're making bad choices. You're not really solving the problem. You're just like covering the problem, with something else, and all that just creates more problems. So the main point with this is that you will come across bad leadership due to the imbalance of the group of those that want to win by all costs, with no empathy to how they get there. And you notice I said no empathy. That's basically translated to not having good interpersonal skills. Okay, business, yes, you're there to sell a product, service, and get some revenue out of that. But at the same time, you needed a team to get it done. It's not just about the business making money. So with that main point, the first thing I want to talk about with that is that bad leadership thinks of one, not as we, which creates an imbalance. And I have been saying this in my previous episodes, that an imbalance leads to insanity, especially if you keep doing the same thing. And was it Einstein that said that the person that keeps doing the same thing is basically a result of insanity? You don't want to do that. Insanity does not give you joy. All right. Insanity does not give you mental peace. Okay. So when I say imbalance in that sense with bad leadership in the corporate world, pretty much it deals with pay, benefits, and value of the worth of employees. Employees do not feel value, so then you have a high turnover. And also you have people on teams that create, toxicity, because their interpersonal skills is just off the charts in a negative way. So it impacts other people on the team. And again, this is not just the corporate world. This can be, any other organization that you're a part of. So bad leadership also allows problems to explode by blaming others and everything that goes with that. That just basically is like seeing a hole in a boat and just let that hole just stay there. You're not trying to fix it. Or if you are trying to fix it, you're stuck with something that is not really the high quality it needs to fix it. It's just to get to the next moment, right? So by not fixing the problems, then you create more problems like high staff turnovers, as I mentioned earlier, high level stress employees, which is very chaotic. I mean, oh my gosh, the stress. Okay, so bad leadership decision making is basically on an elementary level, not for any long term positive outcomes. It is always about the quick way to get to the profitability outcome, while employees and clients or customers suffer. All right, let's take a quick music break. We will be right back. Let's return back to the podcast of surviving your journey. Creating a very high tension work environment. So, how does this impact your journey towards living a successful, joyful life so you can survive towards your success? Talk about stress. Your stress level can rise within just the most simplest incident, meaning that the most simple disturbance in your environment, either at home or even at work, okay, in our personal lives. For example, I worked for a large company and the bad leadership was so bad that and this was actually where I decided to write about corporate America, surviving your journey towards success, because I was thinking I need to write these things down that I'm thinking about, because when I was in college, there's no class to teach you this. They just teach you the study major that you're majoring for your degree. But no one really told you the real deal when you work for a company. It's not just knowing a certain thing and can do this and can do that and understand numbers. It's actually dealing with authority, dealing with personalities, and managing that in a political type environment, especially how big the company is. Now, if it's a smaller company, it's more of a mom and pop type organization, the family owned. You still dealing with a dynamic, not necessarily like high stakes politics where you're dealing with a Fortune 500 company and very tricky on that path. But dealing with when it is a smaller company and is owned by a family, you're dealing with a family matrix there. And actually, that's a whole different show of how you have to maneuver through that path, through those waters. But anyway, I worked there and I noticed that employees were so stressed out because of that bad leadership at that company where I wrote I wrote and published my first book, that they had to call the ambulance because the stress got to the point on the physical level that they could barely work, either passed out, went into anxiety attack, that they, had just all types of reactions that every day I was seeing they was calling the ambulance on one of the floors, either the second floor or third floor. It was just awful. I just couldn't even believe that, that was going on. And at that particular time, I was like, wow, and I didn't really understand it until later when I connected dots. And then I thought about it like, oh, okay. So, wow. So it is all connected. your mental peace and your joy. And when it's not being nurtured in a way, in an environment that you're there, when you add up the hours weekly, and I talked about that in my very first pre-launch episode 1, that it impacts you so greatly. It impacts your health. So it's important to look for ways to be able to remove that stress, to identify bad leadership and get with prestige leadership. Now, it is not easy. You just can't hop the job to job or start this business and do that. I get it. So my job here, that I feel my purpose, is to be able, so what I feel is my purpose is to help you based on what I have been through, based on the knowledge that I obtained, based on the kings and queens that came in my life, helped me to understand the right way to handle certain things, is to help you. Because I like for people to have joy and not to be selfish, to be happy and to take care of themselves, but in a way that they can give back as well. So it's like completing the circle of life. And so when you identify bad leadership, that's a red flag that you have to manage your stress. You have to manage your mental peace. And to do that, you find avenues that will give you that until you can get to a new path of your journey that is more sustaining and more joyful. And you can get there. You just got to survive this path that you're in. If you're dealing with bad leadership, your work could be fine. It could be like a personal project or whatever that you're working with someone else in a leadership role. Or maybe you are that leader. You didn't realize that I didn't really think about, if that happened and this what I have been doing in impacting other people. That you will rethink that, and bam, the next day, which is a new day, a new opportunity, you change your game, and therefore you can change someone else's stress levels and their ability to get things done in a more positive and proactive way. So stress impacts our physical and spiritual selves. That's deep. Believe me, it does. So we see it impacts our stress on our physical selves, either by weight or by certain behaviors that you pick up, and then of course the health issues that are associated with that. And then the spiritual self is the depression or the self-doubt or not believing in you that I mentioned in my last episode. So that matters when you're dealing with bad leadership. So prestige leadership understands that, and they use their authority to create a productive environment. So again, prestige leadership understands that and use their authority to create a positive, productive environment that's in balance. It is important for you to know which one is leading you to implement the strategies needed to refuel you until you can move towards a place that is led by prestige leadership. Trust me, they do exist. They do. They do. You might not trip over a whole bunch of them, but they do. So that's the hope. And that's the trust to know that whatever you're going through in that bad environment, and it might not even be, work. You might be, like I say, I do creative productions, theatrical productions independently. And it could be that you're part of a play production or part of a film crew. And it's just not, you see like, oh my gosh, it's so stressful. You have to look at the bigger picture. You have to stay focused and ask if it's worth it. But if it's taking away your self-worth, you have to reevaluate that. If something's to the point that is not really defining your overall persona and what nurturing what you believe in, then you have to take a look at that if it's worth it. All right. So in the meantime, you have to survive and use every means to limit stress for your mental peace. Okay. So let's move to my next segment, which is the last segment of this episode, which is your task to dusk of dawn, which again, in this particular segment that I created 2 episodes ago, is that for you to take away. It's your takeaway, it's your to-do list. And I love Dust of Dawn because it comes from one of my favorite mentors, W.E.B. Du Bois. So your task to dusk of dawn. My recommendation is for you to expand your network. Keep a diversified network of people you want to be a part of that represents prestige leadership. Okay? And then those experiences will really enrich your leadership skills, and people will flock to you like a moth to a flame. I mean, people will flock to you like it's nobody business, okay? And you know what? You have to keep up. The second thing, you have to keep up with a lot of positive reinforcements. Either even if you are a manager or your employee, it provides refocusing on the bigger picture and providing a more analytical and clarity to finding the root cause of the issue that is plaguing your sense of worth, or impacting your stress levels, or making you second guess your ability, or just making you feel unhappy when you're at work or what have you. And even not at work, just unhappy, period, right? So it gives you an opportunity to think positive when you're reinforcing positive reinforcements. That could be motivational quotes, that can be music that brings you joy, that can be doing any type of activities, either volunteering or anything like that, or just talking to someone that's a part of your team, because you need a team. You need a team that enriches you. You need a team that supports you. You need a team of people on the physical plane, in a sense, that helps you to get what you need to go. And then you have your spiritual team as well. So all in all, you need a team like any sports. They have a team and they have somebody else coming in when that person taking a break. So you have to think in that sense. Now, you might not get a lot. You don't need a lot. You just need enough that when you at that pit stop, or as we stop off and eventually we need to fill up our tanks of our cars, team is there for you. So doing those things helps you to stay focused and helps you to evaluate the leader that's in your life, right? So always remember to always reassess your value. That's the last point that I want to add to that. You want to make sure it is in balance, right? And if not, to consult with people that can help you to get in balance, because dealing with the corporate life is very tricky, and it's very it can be very challenging to be able to do the things you need to do to get to that positive environment, mainly because it's the leadership involved. So if it's a bad leadership and the stress level is just not maintaining normal levels, and you know that you're the stressor, you're not, when you take a moment and assess that, then it's time to relook at that and see other options, see other opportunities. So you need some quiet time to do that. A prestige leadership environment where it is manageable and you do feel a sense of worth there at the company or what have you, or a part of a team, if it's an organization or something like that, then continue to express yourself as a good team member. Be proactive, be engaged in that as well. It's a two-party street, I say, when you're dealing with when you're working with others at the end of the day. All right, so just to get to the podcast, my summary recap of today's topic is prestige leadership demonstrates analytical and research aptitude approaches to discovering the root cause for immediate resolution, because wasted time is not an option. I want to thank you so much for listening to my episode today. Now, I do provide career consultation, offering the first hour free. You can book it through my official website, which is Nichel, N-S-N Nicholas, ICHEL Anderson.com, okay? And you can schedule a consultation as well. Now, don't forget to subscribe to my podcast and share as well. And my podcast is NichelAnderson7.podbean.com, okay? All right. And I'm also on iTunes. You can download it straight from either iTunes or my podcast homepage on Podbean. Now, please follow me on social media. My Twitter account is, of course, Nichel Anderson. So it's twitter.com/Nichel Anderson. I'm also on Facebook. You can go to facebook.com/Nichel Anderson fan page. And my official website is Nichel Anderson. And I would like to see if you can go ahead and submit your email address. And I do send out quick little motivational quotes directly to your inbox that you can get personally from me. If you have any direct questions, you can email me at info@nichelanderson.com. Now, these show notes will be provided on my Podbean website. And if you on iTunes, you'll just see, click there at the bottom and you can see you can get directly to my my podcast website, or you can go to my official website, nichelanderson.com. You can also purchase my Corporate America book. It is Corporate America: Surviving Your Journey Toward Success. You can purchase that on Amazon. And also my Mole, my other project, my Mole book, which is Mitzrayim. You can purchase that on Amazon as well. So thank you so much again for listening to my episode. This is episode 4 for season 1. My regular new broadcasts here are uploaded on Mondays by 10 a.m. Eastern Time. If we have any guest speakers out there that want to be on the show and be interviewed, please fill out my guest application form. You will locate that on my Podbean site for my podcast, and that's Nichel Anderson 7.podbean. So I want to go ahead and end my show with my closing statement. Be you that strengthens and inspires your ability to be strong in your journey endeavor. It's a good thing towards your mental peace and joy, always to your success.